Good evening and welcome. You're watching the news track. I'm Rahul Kanwal. Leaders of both the NDA and the India Alliance meeting in the national capital. Prime Minister Modi getting set to be sworn in for the third time as Prime Minister, while the India Alliance looks for ways of trying to scupper the Prime Minister's plans. What's happening in both the political formations? Details coming up on the news track tonight.
Alliance unites to form Modi 3.0. Amid suspense, NDA flexes muscle. NDA meet video tells the full story. Naidu and Nitish seated next to Modi. Top speed towards government formation, and that's our top focus on the news track.
We'll get live reports on what's happening in the meeting of the India Alliance. The NDA meeting has leaders coming out giving their perspective on government formation for Modi 3.0. Let me take you through the headlines we're tracking tonight. NDA 3.0 gets ready. Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar, part of key alliance, meet in Delhi. Sources say Prime Minister will stake claim on Friday, swearing in planned for Saturday. India bloc allies huddle in the capital. Akhilesh, Sharad Pawar, Tejaswi attend. Opposition says the verdict is decisively against Modi and his style of politics. Devendra Fadnavis offers to resign as Maharashtra's deputy CM, takes responsibility for BJP's poor show in the state. CM Shinde says Mahayuti will review defeat. World leaders congratulate Prime Minister Modi on his historic third consecutive term. Netanyahu, Macron and Giorgia Meloni send their wishes. Markets bounce back as bulls find their feet on Dalal Street. Investors become richer by 13.22 lakh crore rupees. The stage is set for Modi 3.0. Members of the NDA met in the capital today and have pledged their support to Prime Minister Modi. Sources tell India Today that the alliance will stake claim to form the next government on Friday, and Narendra Modi will be sworn in for a historic third consecutive term on Saturday.
The stage is set for Modi 3.0. Narendra Modi will take oath as the Prime Minister of India for the third consecutive term on Saturday. Preparations have begun at the Rashtrapati Bhavan for the swearing-in ceremony. Prime Minister Modi met President Draupadi Murmu on Wednesday and tendered his resignation along with that of his Council of Ministers. He will be the caretaker PM till he takes oath again as Prime Minister. In the last cabinet meet of the government, the ministers passed a resolution congratulating Modi for winning a third term. On June 7, the NDA will hold its parliamentary meet. Modi will be elected as the leader of the NDA. He will address the alliance MPs. Modi will then meet the president along with his allies to stake claim to form the government. Speaking to party workers on Tuesday, Modi had claimed that people have reposed faith in the NDA.
हम सभी जनता जनार्दन के बहुत आभारी हैं। देशवासियों ने भाजपा पर, एनडीए पर पूर्ण विश्वास जताया है। करप्शन के खिलाफ लड़ाई दिनों दिन कठिन हो रही है। राजनीतिक स्वार्थ के लिए जब करप्शन का महिमा मंडन शुरू हो जाए और इसमें निर्लज्जता की सारी हदें पार हो जाए, तब करप्शन को बहुत ताकत मिल जाती है। इसलिए तीसरे कार्यकाल में एनडीए सरकार का बहुत ज्यादा जोर हर तरह के करप्शन को जड़ से उखाड़ फेंकने का होगा।
The BJP has secured 240 seats, well short of the 272 mark. The NDA has 293 seats. This time Prime Minister Modi will be heavily dependent on the support of his allies, including Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu. The 13-party India bloc has won 234 seats. With Paulami Saha in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
All eyes today were on Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar. Both are central to the NDA now that the BJP itself hasn't been able to cross the 272 mark. Both regional satraps got pride of place at the NDA huddle today, but they are demanding their pound of flesh.
NDA gets set for Modi 3.0. But allies are set to give Narendra Modi a hard time. Even as allies pledge their support to the BJP.
We are in NDA. I am going for NDA meeting. In course of time, anything we'll report to you. Thank you.
इस बार का चुनाव हमने नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में एनडीए गठबंधन से लड़ा है। हम बिहार की सफलता से आशावान भी हैं और प्रसन्न भी हैं।
मोदी जी को पूरी तरह जितनी मेजोरिटी के लिए सांसद लगते हैं, संख्या लगती है, उतनी पूरी हो चुकी है, उससे ज्यादा है और एनडीए की सरकार मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में बनेगी।
This time it's coming at a price. With the BJP falling short of majority in the Lok Sabha, allies, TDP, JDU, Shinde Sena, LJP and HAM have asked for plum ministerial berths in Modi 3.0. Chandrababu Naidu is set to seek bigger share in government with 3 cabinet berths, Lok Sabha Speaker post and 2 state ministers. Falling second in line is the JDU, which may ask for 3 ministerial berths in the new cabinet. Shinde Sena and Chirag Paswan's LJP is likely to ask for 1 ministry and 1 state of minister each. Jitin Ram Manjhi's HAM wants him to be made a mantri in Modi cabinet. While both TDP and JDU have pledged their unwavering support for Modi 3.0, it may come at a substantial price. With Paulami Saha, New Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Prime Minister Modi has been used to a certain style of governance. Not just now, even before that during his time as Chief Minister of Gujarat. Will he be able to adjust to a new style of governance? What could that new style really be like? Or will he still bash on in the only way he knows? Can he adjust and adapt? Or will others, including the allies, fall in line and do as he says? To talk about this, we're joined on the broadcast by Ashok Malik. Ashok Malik has, in different capacities, been associated with the current dispensation, has a sense of the thinking within the BJP at the moment. Sheila Bhatt has known Prime Minister Modi for decades, has seen his career from the time he was a BJP worker. We've got T.S. Sudhir, who understands Chandrababu Naidu's mind very well. So let me go across to Ashok Malik first. Ashok, you've seen the way Prime Minister Modi has run this country over the last 10 years. This verdict has the people telling him that he no longer has a full majority. Will Prime Minister Modi change his style of functioning? To what extent is he capable of changing his style of functioning? How is Modi 3.0 likely to be different from the 2 avatars India has seen before this?
Look, we all recognize that Mr. Modi is an extremely gifted and talented politician. Now, if he is a gifted and talented politician, it falls to logical reason that he will be able to adjust to new situations. Is this an uncharted situation for him? Yes, it is. But 240 seats in a House of 543 makes him the leader of the largest coalition leader in Indian history, save Narasimha Rao's coalition or single-party government or minority government in 1991. Now, yes, he needs allies. Yes, he needs to work with allies and with Parliament on key legislation. Yes, he needs to be more attentive to Parliament than he has needed to be with a single party majority. But equally, the allies recognize and the opposition recognizes that there is simply no feasible government possible in this Lok Sabha without the BJP and without the BJP's 240 seats. If you take the BJP's 240 seats out of the equation, there is simply no feasible government possible. So there will be give and take, there will be compromise, there will be persuasion. But I have no reason to believe Mr. Modi will not be able to do it. He's a senior politician. He spent 10 years in Delhi. He's been chief minister. If chief ministers like Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu come to him to ask for something for their state, he knows exactly what to say and what not to say. He's been in their position. He's done.
No, sure, he has. But Sheila, but the fact also is that before taking a particular decision, the Prime Minister has never had to consult, look behind his back, check with people, what do they think. Now he has to deal with Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar at the very least, because without them and without some smaller parties, the BJP doesn't have a full majority. And therefore, since you've seen his style of functioning and his evolution over the decades, how is the new Prime Minister likely to be different from the Prime Minister we've seen so far?
Yeah, a very valid question, Rahul. Let us see the big picture. I would say that the man who has started his career in BJP in 87 and in the power since 2001, I would say this is one of the biggest challenges. And knowing the man as now entire India is knowing him, I think he will take up this challenge in a very different way and he will again surprise us. Because why I'm saying this, not because looking at him, but looking at our own experience as reporter. Let me tell you, in Delhi, in last 30 years, my most hyperactive years were 2004 to 2014. And we used to report Dr. Manmohan Singh. And when Dr. Manmohan Singh in 2004 had 145 seats. And in 2009, 206 seats. So we have reported, and we were on our computer keyboard, we used to write in a very routine way, Dr. Manmohan Singh led UPA government, and we never thought of UPA. And as one cabinet minister joked with me about when I asked how will Modi manage. So he said, do you know how many votes Biden won and how many Trump won in 2020? So do you know? We don't know. We don't remember the numbers. We remember people see people in power. So first of all, that is one thing. And second thing, what will be Modi's plus point when he will start negotiate a different role for himself in a prime minister seat is this, that 543 member of parliament, the uppermost thing in their mind will not be what Rahul stands for or what Sharad Pawar talks about. It will be, they don't want, every single elected member would not like election within 2-3 years. Definitely. All, NDA, UPA, all parties. In NDA and India Alliance. So very first thing, lot of external, internal factors will motivate Prime Minister and negotiate. Prime Minister will keep on his table all these kind of do's and don'ts of individual MPs and also his own limitations now. Secondly, within the political parties who run political parties and who run government, even when they have their own government, they do negotiate. Within the four walls, lots of negotiation as it is takes place, and not just negotiations, lots of compromise takes place.
No, of course they do. There's no doubt about it. But the point is, he's never had to deal with it. He's never, every person has a certain personality type. Prime Minister Modi has never had to do this len-den ki rajniti, give some, take some. His style of politics has in fact been the antithesis of having to make political compromises. He doesn't like to make compromises, and therefore this question becomes more pertinent.
Excuse me, Rahul, that is a perception. That is the image. Within four walls, he was dealing with one big factor called RSS, and we know how we perceive him. He is in a different bracket than the BJP bracket, and he is in a different bracket than the RSS bracket. And also, when you are a prime minister, you are negotiating with so many chief ministers. So negotiations, compromise is already there in his life. Now only publicly he has to do this. And I think it's about power, and power makes people do a lot of things and people change. And
okay, you're saying both Ashok Malik and Sheila Bhatt saying
2004 and 2009, people have to remember when analyzing Narendra Modi.
Power makes people change and circumstances force you to adapt to new ways. Yes, Sudhir. What does Chandrababu Naidu need the most? You know, it was interesting how he had pride of place sitting right next to Prime Minister Modi. No ally has had that kind of limelight and recognition. There he is on the screen right now, standing right next to the Prime Minister, sitting next to him, almost like an equal kind of. But, you know, he's there on the high table, for sure. So what does he need the most? What's the thinking in Vijayawada? What's the thinking in Amravati?
Well, if you have to compare it to an NDA classroom, Chandrababu Naidu is second in class. So obviously he gets the pride of place. But if you were to compare it to a corporate setup, so far Narendra Modi was running something like a bootstrap startup. Now he has two venture capitalists in Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu, who would obviously have a say in how things are run. But just taking off from what Sheila Bhatt was referring to, well, just like a cricketer, I mean, even a Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma, when they go a bit out of form, they have to make some adjustments in the way they grip the bat, in which they go for the shot, whether they lean forward too much before the time the bowler bowls. So I guess Narendra Modi will have to make those kind of minor political adjustments in the way he works. Both Narendra Modi and Chandrababu Naidu have known each other politically for a long period of time. It has been a relationship that has seen its ups and downs. You could call it a turbulent relationship at times, but both of them are seasoned politicians. Now, what would Naidu want? Now, Naidu is returning to power in Andhra Pradesh. Naidu 4.0, 2 times Chief Minister of United Andhra Pradesh and his second term as CM of the residuary state of Andhra Pradesh. So he would want to make a point to see that, okay, Andhra Pradesh gets the goodies. The expectations are huge because I can tell you, Rahul, over the last 5 years, the people in Andhra Pradesh have felt that they are no longer relevant in the political and the administrative map of India. YSR Congress was not part of the NDA, so they did not really have a say. Now they would want a pound of the flesh. They would want to think that they also have a say in the decision making. They would want to see whether Naidu can get the special category status in some form or the other, whether he can get big ticket projects, whether the Polavaram irrigation project can be completed, whether the state capital project can be completed. So the expectations will be huge given the kind of mandate the people of Andhra Pradesh have given. So Naidu is known to be a hard bargainer. He will negotiate hard for whatever Andhra Pradesh needs.
So Chandrababu Naidu spoke after this NDA meeting. Let's listen very briefly to what Chandrababu Naidu had to say.
Elections, if you are not a part of NDA, 3 parties combined we collected. Why you got that doubt, I don't know.
Sir, how was the meeting? How was the meeting, sir?
Good.
And sir, what about portfolios? Sir, anything? Sir, any portfolio?
I will talk to you after.
Sir, how was the meeting?
How can we contest elections if you are not a part of NDA? 3 parties combined we collected. Why you got that doubt, I don't know.
Sir, how was the meeting? How was the meeting, sir?
Good.
And sir, what about
portfolios? Sir, anything? Sir, any portfolio?
I will talk to you after.
Okay, so, you know, the problem in the way that this verdict is from the BJP's perspective is that there are actually very few options. So if you look at the national big picture, and if I take you through the different kind of formations and the numbers that they have. So the NDA is at 293, out of which the BJP itself is at 240, about 33 short of a majority. You have TDP at 16, JDU at 12. You know, so that's 28 seats right there. They need 33. Without them, without TDP, JDU and Sena, there is no government which has a majority. And the other parties are way too small. So Lok Janshakti Party is only 5. RLD of Jayant Chaudhary is only 2. JSP Jan Sena of Pawan Kalyan is only 2. Janata Dal Secular of Kumaraswamy is only 2. The others are 1 MP parties. And even amongst the independents, you know, you can't have ISRCP because you already have TDP. ZPM, AIMIM, so you can get the Akalis, for example, some of them can support you, but they're also small. So amongst the others, there's no major formations. Remember earlier, BJD was a big number. YSRCP was a big number. So you could get them on your side when you needed them and ensure that you were able to get your bills through. In the way, Ashok Malik, the people of India have thrown up this verdict. Look on the other side. Samajwadi Party is the BJP's principal opponent in Uttar Pradesh. It can't support the BJP. It's impossible. Trinamool Congress, unless they want to decimate BJD, they can't support the BJP. It's impossible. Principal opponent in West Bengal. DMK principal opponent in Tamil Nadu. Shiv Sena, Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray and Sharad Pawar now have an axe to grind. They've got a grudge to hold. RJD principal opponent in Bihar. CPM left and right can't possibly come together. IUML is, the Indian Union Muslim League. They can't come together. JMM principal opponent in Jharkhand. AAP principal opponent in Delhi. So all the parties in the blue corner, there are no parties who can go across on the other side. So there is no respite. It's not like if this was about optionality, BJP at 240 has very limited optionality. They have to deal with TDP, JDU, Sena. If on some occasions, say Chandrababu Naidu is not supporting them, they can still get JDU and all the others. But it's going to be very, very complicated to do. So basically, you've got now two crutches who you have to take along. You have no option apart from that. Ashok? You're on mute. You're on mute, Ashok. Okay, let me put that question to Sanjay Jha, because Sanjay, we were discussing with Ashok Malik, Sheila Bhatt, about whether the Prime Minister can change. What kind of Modi 3.0 will we get to see? India is used to a certain kind of style of functioning from the Prime Minister. Will he adapt and change given the new political reality? Will he continue in the same breath? Because in that public speech yesterday, he said we have to fight against corruption. There's no way we're going to pull back. We have to go all out. So will he double down? Will he change? Can he change? How do you look at it from the other side of the political spectrum?
Rahul, let's acknowledge the fact that Mr. Modi is a political veteran. And more importantly, he's held the post of Chief Minister and Prime Minister for the longest time. And although he may not have personally experienced a coalition government, I'm sure he's aware of the dynamics that play out. So I really don't see him not having a problem in adapting to this new challenge. I mean, it is definitely going to be a challenge. I don't think that can be overlooked. But I do believe that Mr. Modi, and I personally have opposed him, but I do acknowledge that he's extremely dexterous and skillful when it comes to managing people. And of course, I mean, the limitation will be that the BJP cannot railroad or, just do a juggernaut on the people who are part of the coalition. But I also look at the number. I think 240 is a significant number. And the two critical people who can actually cause him a degree of discomfiture is really going to be JDU and TDP. And knowing Mr. Modi, I think he will figure out a way, because I don't think he's going to let go of the power that he holds. You remember, Rahul, during the campaign, he talked about the Congress being very miffed and would like to deny him the track record of matching with Pandit Nehru. So he would love to make this tenure play out. Obviously, politics is fluid. Tomorrow is a new day and a week is a long time in politics. A lot can change. But personally, having followed Mr. Modi in particularly very closely after 2012, I do think that he's very skillful, extremely politically savvy, and he'll figure out a way to manage the contradictions.
Ashok Malik, you have a sense of the legislative agenda of the government, or at least what they would have liked to do. Now that you deal with the TDP and the JDU, how do you see that change? Again, you're on mute, Ashok.
It will have to be negotiated. It will have to be, you will have to persuade people. Many of the legislative...
No, but the good thing there is that TDP in particular is a pro-reforms kind of party. I mean, that's generally been Chandrababu Naidu's outlook.
Let's not be simplistic about this. There's a whole body of legislation which actually all major parties, including Congress and BJP, tend to agree on. They disagree with it, they oppose it for reasons of politics. The BJP does it when in opposition. The Congress does it when in opposition. So it's not so much Babu being pro-reform and X being anti-reform. It's what you can bargain for in the immediate moment. And also how communicative the government of the day is in reaching out to the opposition and trying to build a larger consensus. Majority governments anywhere in the world, including in India, including the past 5 years, tend to be a little short and a little impatient with parliament. That is an unfortunate fact. In the situation that we will enter with the new Lok Sabha, Parliament comes back into business. You will have to do business with Parliament. Parliamentary committees where, behind closed doors in a sober environment, you have a give and take, you shape legislation. Parliamentary committees will need to be used. And
which is a good thing. You don't want bills to be ramrodded through Parliament. You want that there be deliberation and discussion, which no sensible person can possibly oppose. I want to go across to Rahul Gautam. He's at the India Alliance meeting. We are seeing live images from Mallikarjun Kharge's house. It's interesting how Rahul Gandhi has pride of place there, standing in the center. This is also Mr. Kharge's house. Rahul Gautam, what do we know from inside the meeting? I can see the body language quite pumped up. Akhilesh Yadav hasn't tasted any kind of success for a long time. Neither is Rahul Gandhi, so they're looking quite chuffed and charged up.
Absolutely, and in fact, Akhilesh, what we are learning from our sources, was one man, who was congratulated by almost every alliance partner here at the meeting. In fact, now what we are learning from our sources that now Mallikarjun Kharge is going to make an appeal similar to what he has posted on Twitter, wherein he's going to invite all the like-minded parties to join India bloc. Now there's a sense, there's a majority opinion in the India bloc that includes Congress Party and Akhilesh Yadav that they should not, that they're not very keen in making any sort of attempts in staking claims over the government formation. However, there is a minority opinion also, including that of Mr. Uddhav Thackeray, that we should make some efforts so that we can send out a message to our voters that you gave us votes, you gave seats to us, and therefore we tried to make the government, but the numbers are not in our favor, so therefore we're going to sit in the opposition. So that's the crux that we are getting from this important meeting. Shortly from now, Mallikarjun Kharge, Rahul Gandhi, they both are going to brief the media, and it is expected that they're going to make this appeal. We've been informed that there was a discussion in all probability as to who's going to be the convener of this India bloc, because henceforth there has to be one person, one office going to coordinate among all these alliance partners as to how they're going to chalk out the further strategy. We all know that numbers are highly in the favor of BJP. So therefore, Congress is not very keen. They don't want to be seen as power hungry or wants to be seen as somebody who's compromising on the agenda. So therefore, Akhilesh and Congress, they are pretty convinced that we should not make any attempts. But there are voices within the India bloc that no, we should go and send out this message that you gave us votes. Also, there are many promises that these political parties have made to their electorate. For example, we saw how in Lucknow Congress office, many people came with guarantee cards. So they don't want to be seen that they are running away from forming the government because they can't really fulfill those promises. So that's the crux.
So, we'll come back in just a while. Let Mr. Kharge speak. We're seeing these live images. There is a quiet celebratory air in those images at Kharge's house. Sanjay Jha, we discussed in the first part of this broadcast how the nature of the government and the Prime Minister's approach to governance may change because he has a reduced majority. How do you see the nature of opposition politics change over the next 5 years?
Rahul, in my opinion, democratic deconsolidation is not something that has just been a worry for urban intellectuals or authors or people who are constantly dealing with government issues and worry about a constitutional crisis. I think the fear factor is something that has really seeped into the larger part of India's society. I know a lot of people who actually work in different levels, and they all talked about कि माहौल में थोड़ा लोग भयभीत रहते हैं, थोड़ा डरे हुए रहते हैं. I think this is going to be a very proactive, participative parliament, because right now, as you can see, there are various political parties having a very active representation in the forthcoming parliament.
Let Ashok Malik respond to Sanjay Jha's point. Ashok, Sanjay says that there was fear in the air. politically, in corporate circles, in drawing rooms, a stated, unstated fear, and that people are breathing easy since that verdict came out, and therefore now that the opposition is breathing easy, feeling more charged up, the next 5 years will see much more agitational opposition politics than we saw in the last 10.
Listen, we've just come out of an election where the ruling party, the overwhelming favorite to win, even by all the exit polls, including on this channel, ended up falling far short of where it wanted to be. And has been re-elected, but with fewer numbers. That should tell us something about the state of democracy in this country. If Mr. Modi is authoritarian and dictatorial, I must say he's a very incompetent and inefficient dictator. He couldn't even fix an election. So let's not kid ourselves about this. The election is over. It was a free and fair election. The political rhetoric is there at election time. All parties resort to it. But the democracy is in business in this country. It has always been in business in this country. And we have a government to run and a country to run. And the government has a role, so does the opposition.
Sheila Bhatt, how do you respond to Sanjay Jha's argument? He says that there was fear in the air, cough ka mahal tha, now everyone's breathing more easily, and therefore there'll be a stronger pushback that the Prime Minister will have to deal with in Parliament and from the streets than he's had to in the past?
Yeah. Right, and I think this is a valid question also. My own judgment is that observation is that Narendra Modi must have heard properly the strong and a very firm message that people of India through a ballot box is given to Modi himself. And I think there will be a very new kind of a transformation of politics, because I think government and governance will not change so drastically, but I think there will be a lot of changes in the politics, the way BJP is doing, the RSS is doing, and Prime Minister's own politics. So I think that will respond to people's message also, and what Sanjay Jha is talking about also. There will be many changes we should expect in politics. But I think very soon we will see a status quo kind of a thing, in the sense that quintessentially all coalition government and its leader, here it's Narendra Modi, it's about mind games, because we have seen these mind games played by Vajpayee and through Brajesh Mishra, in Dr. Manmohan Singh time through Ahmad Bhai and through PMO of his PMO. So we are aware of it, how it works. It's a kind of an illusion of a collective leadership, but actually in Indian style of governance and functioning in government, it will be Modi. But in politics,
so Sheila Bhatt making the point that once the dust settles, remember, there's a new government in place. It's different from the previous government, make no mistake about that. But Prime Minister Modi will still be Prime Minister, and all guests across the political spectrum seem to suggest he's a practical, experienced politician, and he'll find some way of being able to get on, make the compromises that an alliance requires.
Rahul, Delhi का एक सबसे बड़ा नियम है, जिसके हाथ में उसके मुंह में. Delhi works only on that way. जो एक बार कुर्सी पर बैठ गया, फिर आपको बहुत टफ है उससे डील करना.
Yeah, but the difference also is that earlier the opposition didn't think that they had it in them to take on Prime Minister Modi. They just were struggling, stumbling for answers. What the verdict has also done is given the opposition belief that, okay, he's strong, he's formidable, we can find a way, because the likes of Akhilesh tried earlier, Rahul Gandhi tried earlier, they couldn't find a way earlier. So they will also have that extra spring in their feet that if we get our strategy right, we do have an option, and it's not all lost. So Indian politics is at a very interesting juncture, make no mistake about it for the time being. Sanjay Jha, T.S. Sudhir, Sheila Bhatt and Ashok Malik for joining me tonight. Thank you very much. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge speaking right now. Let's listen in.
To the BJP and their politics of hate, corruption and deprivation. This is a mandate in defense of the Constitution of India and against price rise, unemployment and crony capitalism, and also to save democracy. The India bloc will continue to fight against the fascist rule of the BJP led by Modi. We will take appropriate steps at the appropriate time to realize the people's desire not to be ruled by the BJP's government, and this is our decision, and we all together agreed on these points, and will definitely whatever promises we have given to the people, that we will keep it up. And just I want to tell this. Thank you very much.
ये देखिए 2019 के लोकसभा नतीजे और ये हैं 2024 के लोकसभा नतीजे। राजस्थान में बहुत नीला आपको नजर आ रहा है, उत्तर प्रदेश की तस्वीर बदल चुकी है, हरियाणा की तस्वीर बदल चुकी है। जो एक बड़ा राज्य है जहां पर अभी भी भगवा छाया हुआ है वो है मध्य प्रदेश। 29 सीट्स इन मध्य प्रदेश। एक छिंदवाड़ा पिछली बार कांग्रेस का था, वो भी इस बार बीजेपी ने छीन लिया। और हमारे साथ इस वक्त लाइव भोपाल से मौजूद हैं मध्य प्रदेश के पूर्व मुख्यमंत्री श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान। शिवराज जी, स्वागत है आपका। साथ ही साथ मैं एक आंकड़ा दर्शकों के सामने रखना चाहता हूं कि भाजपा के देश भर में जो उम्मीदवार जीते हैं उनमें सबसे बड़ा मार्जिन अगर किसी का है तो वो शिवराज सिंह चौहान है। इंदौर में ज्यादा था, पर वो इसलिए क्योंकि वहां पे कांग्रेस का जो सांसद कैंडिडेट था वो बीजेपी में आ गया। लेकिन अगर उसको आप छोड़ दें तो 8,21,000 के मार्जिन से शिवराज सिंह चौहान विदिशा में जीते हैं। शिवराज जी, स्वागत आपका। क्या रहा मध्य प्रदेश में ऐसा, राजस्थान में जो नहीं हुआ, हरियाणा में जो नहीं हुआ, मध्य प्रदेश में क्यों आपको लगता है कि बीजेपी को 100 में 100 नंबर आए?
प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमान नरेंद्र मोदी जी के प्रति विश्वास का प्रकटीकरण है ये। एमपी के मन में मोदी, ये बात चुनाव के परिणामों में भी परिलक्षित हुई है। मोदी जी के प्रति न केवल विश्वास है बल्कि उससे आगे बढ़ के श्रद्धा और भक्ति का भाव मध्य प्रदेश की जनता के दिल में है। और इसलिए आप देखेंगे हम 29 की 29 सीटें केवल नहीं जीते हैं, 16 में मार्जिन भी बढ़ा है, वोटिंग परसेंटेज भी हमारा बढ़ा है और पूरा प्रदेश मोदी जी के पीछे खड़ा है।
आपने वोटिंग परसेंटेज का जिक्र किया, मैं दर्शकों को दिखाता हूं कि मध्य प्रदेश में वोटिंग परसेंटेज इस दफा क्या रहा। अगर आप पिछले चुनाव की तुलना में कंपेयर करते हैं तो बीजेपी का वोट शेयर मध्य प्रदेश में बढ़ चुका है। पिछली बार 59% था बीजेपी का वोट शेयर, इस दफा 60+ वोट शेयर है और कुल मिला के ऑलमोस्ट डबल है, कांग्रेस से ऑलमोस्ट डबल। लेकिन मेरा सवाल यह था कि अगर ये मध्य प्रदेश में हुआ शिवराज जी, तो राजस्थान में हमने देखा सीटें छिटकी, हरियाणा में हमने देखा बीजेपी को लॉसेस हुए और उत्तर प्रदेश में तो बहुत भयंकर लॉस हुए। तो ये जो देश का दिल आपने बीजेपी के साथ रखा मध्य प्रदेश में, जो कि हरियाणा में नहीं हुआ, राजस्थान में नहीं हुआ, उत्तर प्रदेश में तो बिल्कुल नहीं हुआ, उसके पीछे आप उसको कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, ओवरऑल अगर आप पूरे चुनाव परिणाम को देखें तो तीसरी बार लगातार एनडीए 300 सीटों के आसपास पहुंच गया। हमको चुनाव परिणामों को संपूर्णता से देखना पड़ेगा और उस दृष्टि से अगर हम देखते हैं तो प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमान नरेंद्र मोदी जी के प्रति ये जनता का विश्वास ही प्रकट होता है। एनडीए कोई आज बना हुआ नहीं है। ओवरऑल अगर आप देखेंगे तो ये सारे दल जिन्होंने सीटें प्राप्त की है ये हमारे साथ पहले से जुड़े हुए लोग हैं। और आप एक बात और देखिए, आज भारतीय जनता पार्टी की अकेले 241 सीटें हमारी हैं। आप 1991 में लोकसभा चुनाव के परिणाम देखें तो कांग्रेस को केवल 232 सीटें मिली थी और वोटिंग परसेंटेज भी उनका 36 था, लेकिन नरसिम्हा राव जी ने तब सरकार बनाई थी। आप 204 के लोकसभा के चुनाव परिणाम देखें तो कांग्रेस को केवल 145 सीटें प्राप्त हुई थी और वोटिंग परसेंटेज था उनका 26.53%। मनमोहन जी के नेतृत्व में तब भी सरकार बनी थी, भारतीय जनता पार्टी की भी 138 सीटें थी। 2009 में अगर आप देखें तो कांग्रेस को केवल 206 सीटें मिली थी और 28% के आसपास उनको वोट मिला था। फिर मनमोहन जी के नेतृत्व में सरकार बनी थी। लगातार 14 के बाद 19 और 19 के बाद फिर 24 में एनडीए को बहुमत प्राप्त होना लगातार तीसरी बार, ये अपने आप में मैं एक चमत्कार मानता हूं और लोगों का विश्वास मोदी जी में है, यही मानता हूं।
सर, बीजेपी का दावा था कि 370 पार्टी की आएंगी, 400 एनडीए की आएंगी, 240 तक ही पहुंच पाए और एनडीए केवल 291 तक। अब ये सरकार कैसे चलेगी? क्योंकि मोदी जी जब से सीएम बने हैं, पीएम बने, हमेशा पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार रही है, मेजॉरिटी रही है, डिसाइसिव मेजॉरिटी रही है। अब एक तरीके से बैसाखी है, एक तरफ चंद्रबाबू नायडू है, एक तरफ नीतीश कुमार है, दोनों को लेके चलना है। दो बैसाखियों पे बीजेपी अब खड़ी हो गई है, कैसे चलेगी ये सरकार?
हमें राहुल जी, हमें पूर्ण बहुमत प्राप्त है। आप देखिए उड़ीसा में भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने ऐतिहासिक विजय प्राप्त किया। ओवरऑल आप परिणाम देखिए, और हम सरकार बना रहे हैं। वहां 20 सीटें भारतीय जनता पार्टी प्राप्त कर लेती है। आंध्र प्रदेश में एनडीए ने प्रचंड बहुमत प्राप्त किया है। हमारे पास 2019 में तो एक भी सीट नहीं थी और वोट शेयर भी हमारा 1% से नीचे था। 2024 में हमने 3 सीटें जीती है और 11% से ज्यादा वोट भारतीय जनता पार्टी को मिले हैं, 11.28%। तेलंगाना में हमारे पास 4 सीटें थी, बढ़ के 8 हो गई, और वोटिंग परसेंटेज भी देखें तो 35.8% वोट हमको मिला। 15% से ज्यादा, 15.5% वोट हमारा बढ़ा है। केरला में हमने अपना खाता खोला है और 16.68% वोट प्राप्त किया है। तमिलनाडु में सीट भले ना जीते हों, लेकिन 11.24% वोट भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने प्राप्त किया है। अरुणाचल में हमें प्रचंड बहुमत मिला है। एमपी, हिमाचल, उत्तराखंड, दिल्ली में, गुजरात में लगभग क्लीन स्वीप, छत्तीसगढ़ में भी क्लीन स्वीप ही है। तो आप देखेंगे असम में भी जो स्थिति वो आपके सामने है, और इसलिए एनडीए को प्रचंड बहुमत मिला है और बहुत शानदार सरकार चलेगी। बड़े और कड़े फैसले होंगे और विकसित भारत के निर्माण का जो प्रधानमंत्री जी का संकल्प है वो पूरा होगा।
सर, एनडीए को तो बहुमत मिली है, लेकिन इससे पहले कभी भी बीजेपी को अपने एलाइज से फैसले से पहले चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती थी। जो तय हो गया वो हो गया। अब चूंकि पूर्ण बहुमत नहीं है और 2/3 बहुमत तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं, तो हर जगह आप कंसेंसस से, कोलिशन पार्टनर्स के साथ बातचीत करके, तो ये तो काम करने का जो तरीका है, कि आपको लगता है कि मोदी 3.0 में इससे पहले की जो सरकार थी उससे काफी अलग होना पड़ेगा?
मुझे बिल्कुल नहीं लगता। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में एनडीए का विश्वास है। मोदी जी एनडीए के नेता हैं, देश के नेता हैं, और एनडीए के पार्टनर भी उनकी लीडरशिप में ही साथ काम करते हैं। एक मजबूत सरकार पूरी ताकत के साथ देश के विकास के लिए काम करेगी, जनता के कल्याण के लिए काम करेगी। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में विकसित भारत का संकल्प पूरा होगा।
विपक्ष जो इतना खुश है उसको आप कैसे देख रहे हैं? अगर आप देखें जैसे वी कर रहे हैं, तो उनके बॉडी लैंग्वेज को देख के तो लग रहा है कि विपक्ष को लग रहा है कि इस हार में भी उनकी जीत है और मोदी जी की जीत में भी उनको हार नजर आ रही है।
मुझे लगता है कि एक कहावत है, और वो ये है कि अगर काना मामा नहीं मामा से काना मामा, थोड़ा सा कहीं से किसी प्रदेश से वोट थोड़े से मिल गए तो उसी में अगर वो इतने प्रसन्न हो रहे हैं। कांग्रेस ने स्वत्रास नहीं किया है। तो मुझे लगता है कि दिल के बहलाने के लिए वो इस तरह की बात कर रहे हैं। दिल के बहलाने को गालिब ख्याल अच्छा है। ओवरऑल देश का विश्वास एनडीए में है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी में।
पर सर, एक जो बड़ा ट्रेंड रिजल्ट्स में नजर आ रहा है वो ये कि जैसे यादव और मुसलमान तो पहले ही इंडिया अलायंस के साथ थे उत्तर प्रदेश जैसे राज्यों में, इस दफा चूंकि बीएसपी कमजोर होती नजर आई तो दलित वोट भी काफी तादाद में इंडिया अलायंस की तरफ गया। और अगर मुस्लिम, दलित, यादव एकजुट वाकई में हो जाते हैं तो इससे आने वाले जो विधानसभा चुनाव हैं उस पर काफी इंपैक्ट पड़ सकता है। और उत्तर प्रदेश जैसे राज्यों की राजनीति जो कि बीजेपी के पक्ष में रही है पिछले 10 साल में, उसमें परिस्थितियां काफी चेंज हो सकती हैं। जो दलित वोट आपसे छिटका है उसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
हम जातियों से ऊपर उठ के देश चलाते हैं। सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास हमारा मूल मंत्र है। इसी को लेके हम काम करेंगे और सबका विश्वास जीता है, आगे भी जीतेंगे। विभाजनकारी एजेंडा जो विपक्ष का तोड़ने वाला है वो हम सफल नहीं होने देंगे।
सर, एक चीज मैं पूछना चाह रहा हूं, जिस तरीके से हमने राजस्थान में देखा कि पार्टी को काफी लॉस हुआ, लोग कहते हैं कि अगर शिवराज जी पूरा समर्थन नहीं देते, थोड़ा अपना हाथ खींच लेते, तो मध्य प्रदेश में भी वैसा ही लॉस हो सकता था। वो तो आपने एक पूरे अनुशासित सिपाही की तरह पूरी ताकत लगा दी कि मध्य प्रदेश में कोई लॉस हो तो कोई अंदर ही खेमे में आपस ही में ही कोई बगावत या रिबेलियन, उस तरह की चीज जो कि कुछ राज्यों में बीजेपी के साथ हुई और कुछ सांसद तो अब पब्लिकली बोल भी रहे हैं या कुछ उम्मीदवार पब्लिकली बोल रहे हैं, उसको आप कैसे देखते हैं कि जिस तरह की इन फाइटिंग राजस्थान में या उत्तर प्रदेश में थी वैसी मध्य प्रदेश में नहीं होने दिया? वो तो आप लगे रहे इस तरीके से, इस वजह से मध्य प्रदेश में 29 की 29 आ गई बीजेपी को इस दफा।
हम भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यकर्ता हैं, अपने देश के लिए और जनता की सेवा के लिए राजनीति करते हैं। हम आत्म केंद्रित राजनीति नहीं करते। भाजपा के कार्यकर्ता के नाते मेरा परम कर्तव्य और धर्म है कि हम पार्टी को कैसे अधिकतम सफलता मिल सकती है, इसलिए पूरी जान झोंक के काम करें। मध्य प्रदेश में पूरी टीम ने एकजुट होकर काम किया है। हमारे मुख्यमंत्री, हमारे प्रदेश अध्यक्ष, हमारे संगठन महामंत्री, बाकी नेतागण और स्वयं मैं भी अपने चुनाव के साथ साथ पूरे प्रदेश में दौरा करता रहा, क्योंकि हम किस लिए काम कर रहे हैं? आखिर कोई अपने आप को इंपॉर्टेंट बनाने के लिए हम काम नहीं कर रहे हैं। आखिर हमारा काम अपने देश के लिए है, जनता की सेवा के लिए है और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के माध्यम से कर रहे हैं। भारतीय जनता पार्टी राष्ट्रीय पुनर्निर्माण का मिशन है और उस मिशन के हम कार्यकर्ता हैं। तो जो काम पार्टी देती है उसको पूरी प्रामाणिकता और मेहनत के साथ करते हैं। यही भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सच्चे कार्यकर्ता की पहचान है। सब जगह कार्यकर्ताओं ने काम किया, परिणाम थोड़े बहुत ऊपर नीचे आते हैं, उससे चिंता करने की जरूरत नहीं है। आगे भारतीय जनता पार्टी जहां विचार करना है विचार करके और आगे बढ़ने का रोड मैप तय करेगी।
जैसे राजस्थान में लॉस हुआ, वहां पे हाल ही में सरकार बनी, मध्य प्रदेश में नहीं हुआ, उसको देख के कई लोग जो आपके इर्द गिर्द है वो तो ये कह रहे होंगे कि भाई शिवराज जी को फिर से ही चीफ मिनिस्टर बना दीजिए। मध्य प्रदेश पुकार रहा है और उनका जो वोट आया उससे भी यही निकल के आ रहा है कि शिवराज को वापस लाइए, मामा जी को वापस लाइए। इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
भारतीय जनता पार्टी के हम कार्यकर्ता विचार के लिए काम करते हैं, किसी व्यक्ति के लिए काम नहीं करते। हम जिस विचार के लिए काम कर रहे हैं वो है विकसित भारत का निर्माण, उसके समर्पित सिपाही हैं हम। और मुझे पार्टी ने अब जो काम दिया है सांसद का, वो पूरी प्रामाणिकता और निष्ठा के साथ करूंगा। विकसित भारत के लिए विकसित विदिशा संसदीय क्षेत्र, ये मेरा लक्ष्य है और इसके लिए मैं अपने आप को झोंक के काम करूंगा। हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कन्याकुमारी से लौटने के बाद आह्वान किया कि कम से कम 25 साल विकसित भारत के लिए समर्पित करें। मैं अपने आप को विकसित भारत के मिशन को पूरा करने के लिए समर्पित करता हूं, गिलहरी की तरह अपना योगदान दूंगा। मैं ना इसके दाएं देखता ना इसके बाएं देखता।
अच्छा, एक आखिरी सवाल खत्म करने से पहले, पीएम ने एक सभा में बोला कि मैं इनको दिल्ली लेके जा रहा हूं। मध्य प्रदेश में परफॉर्मेंस के बाद लोगों को लग रहा है कि कम से कम एक बड़ा मजबूत मिनिस्ट्रियल पोर्टफोलियो तो कम से कम मिलना ही चाहिए शिवराज जी को।
सांसद तो मैं बन ही गया हूं। प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में सांसद का काम भी मैं बहुत मजबूती के साथ करूंगा। जो काम मिलेगा, मिलेगा का मतलब मैं कुछ बनना चाहता हूं ये कतई नहीं है। मिलेगा का मतलब सांसद के नाते भी अपनी भूमिका का मैं निर्वाह करूंगा ही, क्योंकि मेरे मन में इसके सिवाय कुछ नहीं है कि जो काम मेरे पास उसको मैं कैसे बेहतर करूं। कई बार मनुष्य जो होता है उसको ठीक से नहीं करता और जो नहीं होता उसको प्राप्त करना चाहता है, इसलिए जो होता है वो भी ठीक से नहीं कर पाता। मैं अभी सांसद हूं और सांसद के काम को पूरी मेहनत, परिश्रम, प्रामाणिकता के साथ करूंगा और विकसित भारत के लिए विकसित विदिशा संसदीय क्षेत्र बनाऊंगा अपने कार्यकर्ताओं के साथ मिलकर, टीम के साथ मिलकर, प्रधानमंत्री जी के मार्गदर्शन में।
ये जो आप कह रहे हैं ये बड़ी बात है, दिस इज अ लेसन नॉट जस्ट इन पॉलिटिक्स बट इन लाइफ इज वेल। जो है उसको अच्छे से करो, जो नहीं है उसकी लालसा में रहोगे तो वो भी नहीं मिलेगा। आई थिंक दैट्स अ बिग लाइफ लेसन एंड शिवराज सिंह चौहान इन द एफर्ट दैट इज मेड आफ्टर बीइंग डिस्पोजेस्ड ऑफ द रोल ऑफ मध्य प्रदेश चीफ मिनिस्टर रियली सेट एन एग्जांपल नॉट जस्ट इन हिज पार्टी बट फॉर अदर्स एज वेल। आप हमारे साथ जुड़े, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। इतनी बड़ी जीत हुई, बीजेपी के जो बाकी धुरंधर है उनसे बड़ी आपका विक्ट्री मार्जिन रहा, वो खुद में ही एक तरीके से मैसेज भी है जो देश की जनता ने, विदिशा की जनता ने पूरी देश की राजनीति में दिया है। आप हमारे साथ जुड़े, इसके लिए शिवराज चौहान साहब आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।